All right, let's move away from the conversation. According to the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, 40.1% of people are poor, and this is, of course, reflecting the 2018 and 2019 monetary poverty line. And 63%, that's, of course, 133 million people, are multidimensionally poor, according to the National MPL 2022. Multidimensional poverty is higher in rural areas, where 72% of people are poor compared to 42% of people in urban areas. This has led to the call for interventions to be made by the federal government to ameliorate the standard of living for all Nigerians.
Now, the federal government has, in the past years, adopted initiatives to improve the livelihood of Nigerians. These initiatives range from the Feeding a Child School or the Child Feeding Program, providing stipends to the girl child, as done recently in Kano State and other states, and loan schemes for graduates, undergraduates, just to mention a few. Yet, insecurity and climate change, including other factors, have crippled the successes of eradicating hunger. This places a huge task for the ministry saddled with the responsibility of doing so. We can, of course, continue to expand on these conversations and how can the standard of living in Nigeria be improved in the face of current economic meltdown. As we reflect on 63 years of independence, this topic, of course, keeps making the front burner. We're joined this morning by the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Dr. Betta Edu. Thanks for joining us. Good morning, Dr. Edu.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you. And of course, congratulations, first of all, on your nomination as Minister of Humanitarian Affairs. There's so much that needs to be spoken about. I hope that we have time to pull in as much of it. But I want to, start with, now of course, you're replacing someone who was, in that position before. There has been numerous calls for auditing of that ministry, and the billions, hundreds of billions of naira that have passed through in the last couple of years. Have there been any steps taken in that regard? Is there any information that maybe, Nigerians are still seeking that you're, eager to share with us concerning how funds were used before your entry into the, to chair the ministry?
I'm sure you know I'm not a security agent, neither am I in an agency that deals with auditing and the rest of it. They have agencies of government that are involved in that, and if they feel that anything has not been done right, they would probe into it, and I'm sure they are concerned completely with that. My job is to see that I can take Nigerians out of poverty, and whatever information they would require from me, I'm happy to give them that information. Presently, we are looking at the programs and the projects that have been done. We are restructuring them to make them more effective, and we are trying to verify that the National Social Register is adequate and it's directly targeted at the poorest of the poor, those who truly need this intervention. That's what we're working on now. We've not got lots of time because the president wants us to hit the ground running. In his speech yesterday, when he spoke in the 1st of October, the Independence Day, he stated very clearly that 15 million households would be getting some conditional cash transfers, just as ways to ensure that they have funding to be able to attend to their basic needs, pay for the school fees of their children, ensure that they can have the basics around them, access to quality healthcare and other social services, subsidize their transportation costs, put it into their businesses, and of course, use it to learn new skills. So this is what our focus is on right now. For the books, the agencies that are involved with that should take care of that.
So talk to us, Dr. Betta. We know you've just mentioned the National Social Register, and we know that the verification process has commenced. So give us a clear picture of the work that is being done. Some of the concerns that have been expressed would be the fact that some Nigerians worry about who will be on the list, if the rightful people will be on the list. We know that the verification process is to ensure that the names are being edited or audited to ensure that the right people are on the list. How is that going so far? And how well are you assuring Nigerians that this register would contain the names of the people that need to be there?
So we have a National Social Register that has about 15.7 million households. That amounts to about 62 million Nigerians. on individuals on that National Social Register. We also have the Rapid Response Register, which is the register we use to pick up names. If we go to an area and we see that everyone is not properly covered, we use the Rapid Response Register to pick those names up so that they can be included in the National Social Register. What we're doing is the verification of these households, verification of the names, putting faces to the names to be sure that whomsoever is receiving these monies can be truly said to be poor, living under $1.95 per day, and they are Nigerians and they live in communities. So we're doing geographical targeting, we're doing community targeting, we're working with traditional rulers, we're working with the governors in the state who are the chairmen of the steering committees in the state. We're also working with different CSOs and of course NGOs, including the international partners, to see that this process is transparent, the right people who should be on the list are on the list, and those who should not be there are taken off. We've done our best to see how we can remove completely political interference and other social interference, as well as personal interest in terms of getting the names of these poor people. So we're dealing directly with the communities. We just flagged off in about 4 communities in Lagos State at the suburbs, where we went to cross-check the register against the households where they have written the names and numbers of these people to see that they truly are individuals in Nigeria and they exist. And of course, we had beautiful findings on Saturday. The team will continue to go around the country to see that they get the work done. What we're really seeing on ground is that, yes, some were covered and some people were left out. For instance, I'll give an example. In Makoko community, the entry part where I came in from, they had a lot of names that were covered there. I could trace them. I could see their numbers. I could see the numbers of their houses. However, towards the ending area where I exited from, I noticed that the households around there were not really covered. So these are things that we spoke with the team on ground in Lagos. We met with the governor and we asked that they be included as part of those who will be benefiting from these conditional cash transfers.
All right. So we're going to get back to the National Social Register. It did come with its own level of criticism from the previous administration. Actually, when this administration came into office, it was stated that register had a lot of flaws. So we're going to get back to that. But before that, there's also people questioning the sincerity of the work that you did. You just mentioned Makoko and other communities that you visited in Lagos. And here's the reason. If you look at the poverty index in Nigeria as of December 2019 to 2020, there's been, of course, it shows that Lagos has pretty much one of the lowest figures. There's Sokoto, there's Taraba, there's Jigawa, Ebonyi, Adamawa, and some of all the states in northern Nigeria that have staggering levels of poverty. So why did we start with Lagos with, this verification process?
Okay, so we have different states lined up for this week. I have an appointment to be in Zamfara. I have an appointment, of course, I've been to Borno State, and when I was there, we spoke with the Minister for Women Affairs and Social Development, and of course, the Humanitarian Special Advisor that was handed over to us by the governor and all the members of the steering committee at the state level, and they have already started that verification process in Borno. We went to Niger, we made the same engagement. We have gone to Lagos for the same engagement. We are moving into Zamfara in a couple of days. We are going to Kwara, we're going to Cross River, we're going to Bayelsa, we're going to several other states. It's not that it starts and ends in Lagos. No, this is just one out of 36 that will be done within the next 2 weeks. People are all over the country already going out on the verification process. I was in Makoko because I wanted to take a sample. It's just a geographical sampling. So you're taking samples from areas where you believe they or you think that maybe those who went to capture may not go this far to go and capture people there. When I go to a place, I'm not interested in the big people or the big cities or the big urban areas. I want to go to the suburbs. I want to go to areas where they might feel, okay, let's exclude these ones. Okay, nobody might ever get there to verify. Those are the places we're going to. We're going to Zamfara, we're going to Bayelsa, we're going to Kwara, we're going to all of these states almost immediately just to get this process going. The teams are already on ground and they have started the verification process. We will be joining them to ensure that this is truly a reflection of poor people who deserve to have these monies in their households.
All right. You've already started doing a lot of cleaning work, as it's reflected with the conversation you had recently about the NPAR and the issues surrounding NPAR. There, we'd like you to give us further clarity as to what exactly that's means. There are people who have said that they are yet to be paid. So I want you to give us a clear picture as to what exactly is happening with NPAR.
Yes, so Empower is one of the programs which we are trying to completely restructure. What we're doing right now, we set up a committee to actually audit what has been done in terms of the Empower operations and the people who have been paid, the people who have not been paid, and if they truly are part of the system, if they worked, if they have kept their own part of the divide, and what does government owe them. Like I said, there was the monies kept for a long while, and of course, at the end of the year, those monies were wiped off. Some other agencies wiped those monies off from the Empower, and so the beneficiaries could not be paid. Beyond this, the Empower has some issues, right? We found situations where they took on more persons exactly than was budgeted for. Situations where we have people who their details are not correct. It doesn't match with the BVN. The biometrics is not rhyming with what we already have on the database. So these people cannot get paid until they are completely verified. Some others have exited this program since last year. But for whatever reason, they tell you they want an exit package, they want to stay on for the next 8 months, the next 9 months, they want to continue to be Empower. And you're wondering, you signed up to a document before you got enrolled, and that document clearly stated when the exit point is for you. And at the point of exit, you're still yet saying that you are being owed. These are challenges that we are having with the Empower. The permanent secretary is in charge of that committee working with the consultant who his contract has expired, and we want to know what he has done. And of course, try to see how we can entirely restructure. We have a new Empower head who is also in charge and on top of the matter, the program manager who is looking into it. We also have the director of procurement, the director of legal to know what the legal implications are, amongst other persons who are directly involved, the head of NSAP and the rest of them. This is a social program that is supposed to bring relief to young Nigerians who do not have opportunity to have employment as at that time. There are even people who are on the Empower list that are fully employed, gainfully employed, but they are yet on the Empower list and benefiting from it. These are all discrepancies that we have met, and we intend to clean it up before we go back into paying those who are owed, and then bringing out a completely new structure for Empower where we'll capture people and then put them on the scheme properly, we'll verify them, and we'll go ahead to pay them.
That's fantastic work that's been done there. Dr. Edu, do we have like a timeline? Because there are a number of them that are banking on these monies that are yet to be paid. So whilst this cleaning up is very important, do we have a timeline before which the payments would have started? Or within which the payments would have started?
For Empower,
yes,
we would truly advocate to Nigerians and young people that they give us up until January next year, because from what we have seen on the ground, this will take a while to clean up, and then we can now come out with the new structure by November, December, and then payments will effectively begin in January. So we don't want to see a situation where we tell them in a couple of hours, in a couple of days, we'll start paying you, and truly we're not able to pay. People were paid in August. People were paid in September, right? But of course, this is like talking about payments to 40,000 people. as compared to the number of people who truly need to be paid. And then we're asking, who are these people that are being paid and why are they paid over the other people? So these are all things which we intend to investigate. And then by November, we'll be coming up with the list that of people that are owed. And then, of course, the new structure for Empower, which is now the Renewed Hope Job Creation Scheme, will be coming up in December. And then effective payments will come up thereafter.
Well, we'll see how things turn out. There's, of course, always going to be criticism for, these programs, but we're running out of time. I also want you to speak on the school feeding program. There's a couple other things that have been mentioned. How successful would you say that has been? It was criticized when it started as, to mostly not achieve anything. So how successful would you say that it has been? And is that one of the things that you will be continuing with? Is that, something that you maybe would advise the government to stop, and direct that money somewhere else that would help, get these people out of poverty? Because our numbers of poverty, have increased. Now that we're even hearing, now that petrol subsidy, of course, has been taken away, the cost of the exchange rate also is at the worst it's always been. There's going to be more and more and more people, that are falling below the poverty line. So tell us about the school feeding program. Will you continue with it, or would you maybe advise that it's discarded?
So the school feeding program is a good program, right? For me, a couple of things come to mind. One, the monitoring system was not very effective. Secondly, the fact that it was completely run by the state without commitments and due diligence from the federal was not helpful for that program. And the very will I say, small scope that it had to cover in the first phase did not really help a lot of people to get the impact. But altogether, about 9 million people are said to have been fed by the school feeding program. I want to say that first, it's a very good program and we will continue with it. The only thing we'll be doing is completely restructuring the program and, of course, the way of implementation so that it can be more effective. Number one, it helps the local economy because it's homegrown school feeding. So all of the materials used for it are actually sourced locally. Beyond this is the local women in those communities that are being economically empowered. And that's one of the ways that you can get the economy of a country really going. Secondly, it's providing nutrition. We have an issue with malnutrition in Nigeria presently. We've had several meetings on nutrition, and the reason why everyone must be involved in the issue of solving malnutrition, acute, chronic malnutrition in Nigeria. So it helps to address this issue. And of course, the health aspect of it is very useful. Beyond this is one of the incentives to keep people in school, to keep children in school. So if we provide conditional cash transfers, saying parents take monies from this and pay the little fees or fines that you need to pay to keep your children in school, we should also provide other incentives to help them continue to stay in school. Remember, we have a good number of out of school children, and this is as a result of insecurity, banditry, and several other issues around poverty that have pushed children out of school. We must find incentives to
Yeah,
bring them
so that's what
back
I'm
into school. So
asking.
all of this,
Yeah,
yes, we are
apologies for
continuing
jumping.
with the
What
program.
I'm
We're
asking is,
only restructuring it.
okay, because what I was trying to get is it's been run for a couple of years. How successful has
Yeah.
it been? And would you say that the amount of money we spend doing these things, has been beneficial? Has it reduced the number of kids, the out of school children in the country? Has it reduced has it increased the number of parents who can now be able to afford to take their kids to school? These are some of the things that should be looked at before we then say, okay, we're going to invest more and more billions of naira into these projects. I also want to talk about, how the government, of course, we're trying to get people out of poverty, but the move that the government is making seems to be sending a little more people into, below the poverty line. Is it making your job more difficult when the government announces no more fuel subsidy? Petrol price is now about 600 naira. The dollar is exchanging for 1,000 naira. There's people who are struggling to survive every day. Is it making your job more difficult as a minister?
So the government is taking bold decisions that would, at the long run, save Nigeria from a complete collapse. Who exactly are we subsidizing? and how much is going into the subsidy? Would this not be better to go into other programs, including capital programs that will create more job and improve on the economy? Those are the critical questions that we must ask ourselves. So when a government takes a bold step to say fuel subsidy is gone, right? It also provides an increase in the social safety net to be able to protect people from going into poverty. Remember, this is a shock to the system, right? And this, the government is very, very sensitive to provide that social safety net that will prevent more people from falling below the poverty line. And that's what my ministry is there to do. And then, of course, my ministry, beyond providing the social safety net to protect people from falling below the poverty line, will equally be pulling people out of poverty into this other cadre. So it's a complete 360 approach where you take decisions in the best interest of the nation, and at the same time, you provide the social safety net that prevents Nigerians from falling below poverty line.
All right, we've been joined by the Honorable Minister for Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Dr. Betta Edu. Thank you so much for your time. We wish you all the best. We do hope that your time in office is successful, because if it is, it profits all of us as Nigerians. So we wish you all the best, and we look forward to having you again.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central. It's been quite the morning. A lot of important conversations have been had. And of course, you can catch up with these interviews on YouTube at News Central. All our social media platforms, you can catch up with our content there.